Have you ever dealt with an itchy scalp or that frustrating buildup? Or maybe you just feel like your hair could be better? You know, we spend so much time and money on our hair, but what if I told you we're all looking in the wrong place? Today, we're going to completely revolutionize your routine by focusing on the foundation of it all, your scalp.
So if you remember just one thing today, make it this. Treat your scalp exactly like you treat the skin on your face. It's a really simple shift in thinking, but it unlocks, well, everything. The secret to amazing hair isn't in some fancy conditioner, it's right there at the root.
All right, let's dive into that fundamental shift. For way too long, we've treated the skin on our heads like it's just an afterthought. But it's not just there to hold up our hair. It is the living, breathing foundation for every single strand that grows. I mean, just think about it for a second. On the left, you've got a typical skincare routine, right? Cleansers, serums, moisturizers, a whole shelf in your bathroom dedicated to your face. And then on the right, that one lonely bottle of shampoo we use for our scalp. You see the disconnect? This gap is exactly what we're going to fix.
But here's the thing. While it is skin, your scalp is kind of its own unique neighborhood. It has way more oil glands, it's a thicker layer of skin, and it's home to over 100,000 hair follicles. Just imagine this tiny, warm, humid ecosystem. It needs its own specialized care.
Okay, so we've established that the scalp is a unique environment. Now let's zoom in even closer. We're about to explore this hidden world living right on your head, the scalp microbiome. And I promise, it is not as intimidating as it sounds, but it is absolutely essential to understand.
So, this term microbiome, it really just refers to the trillions of tiny organisms, like bacteria and fungi, that live on your scalp. And this is not a bad thing. A healthy, balanced microbiome is your scalp's first line of defense. It's your personal little bodyguard.
This right here, this is what a perfectly balanced ecosystem looks like. On a healthy scalp, the beneficial bacteria are the dominant residents, making up about 90% of the population. They act like these tiny guardians, keeping your scalp's pH balanced and helping to nourish your hair.
But what happens when that delicate balance gets thrown off by things like harsh products or even stress? Well, that's when you get all the issues we really want to avoid. Dandruff, that constant itching, and it can even get in the way of new hair growth, leaving your hair feeling dry and brittle.
Okay, so we get the problem. Now let's talk about the solution. We are going to build your new scalp routine, and we're going to borrow all the best principles from skincare.
First up, exfoliation. Yes, just like your face, your scalp needs it to get rid of buildup. Glycolic acid, that's an AHA, is fantastic for clearing away all that surface-level gunk. But salicylic acid, a BHA, is the real star for oily scalps because it gets right down into the pores to dissolve oil.
But hey, don't go crazy with it. The key to good exfoliation is consistency, not intensity. Sticking to just 1 or 2 times per week is really the sweet spot. That's how you get all the benefits without messing up your scalp's natural balance. Next, let's talk about pre-shampoo treatments. And honestly, this one is a total game changer. Rosemary oil is getting a ton of buzz, and for a really good reason. A 2015 study dropped a bombshell. It was found to be just as effective as 2% minoxidil for promoting hair growth. But, get this, with less scalp itching. That is a huge deal. But, and this is a really big but, you have got to be patient. This is not an overnight fix. Natural treatments like rosemary oil work with your body's own hair growth cycle. You need to be consistent for at least 6 months to really see those incredible, transformative results.
And we can't forget hydration. A dry, tight scalp just can't support healthy hair. So look for serums with hyaluronic acid. It's an absolute superstar hydrator that holds onto water, keeping your scalp's protective barrier strong and healthy, all without weighing down your hair.
Okay, so we've built the foundation of a great routine. But you know, just as important as what you should do is what you should probably stop doing. So let's bust some common myths that could be sabotaging your scalp health.
All right, here's a big one I hear all the time. This idea that by washing your hair less often, you can somehow train your scalp to produce less oil. Have you ever tried this?
Well, I hate to be the one to tell you, but for most people, it's a total myth. And trying it can actually make things a whole lot worse.
So why doesn't it work? Well, it creates this chain reaction. When you don't wash, all that oil, dead skin, and product just builds up, and it ends up clogging your hair follicles. This creates an environment where inflammation can thrive, and in response, your scalp might actually produce more oil to compensate. It totally backfires. And that brings us right to dry shampoo. Look, we all love it for a quick fix, but you have to think of it as makeup for your hair, not a replacement for washing. Overusing it clogs your pores and literally suffocates your follicles. So the rule is pretty simple. Limit it to twice a week, max, and always make sure you wash it out thoroughly.
You know, great scalp care isn't just about the products you're putting on your head. Let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture to create a routine that's truly holistic.
What you put in your body is just as important as what you put on it. A diet rich in nutrients like omega-3s and zinc gives your scalp the building blocks it needs to be healthy. And on the flip side, things like stress and high cortisol levels, they can trigger inflammation and really weaken your scalp's defenses.
It's also super important to know your limits. This table helps clarify what you can totally manage at home versus when it might be time to see a pro, like a dermatologist or a trichologist. If you're dealing with persistent pain or sudden hair loss, please don't wait. Get some expert help.
So how do you put all of this together into practice? Here's a simple little weekly blueprint. This is not about adding a dozen new steps to your life, it's about being intentional. Gentle washes on most days, a nice pre-shampoo treatment midweek, and your exfoliation on the weekend. It's a manageable routine that builds a really powerful habit over time. We've gone from the hidden world of the microbiome all the way to the simple power of rosemary oil. And I think the biggest takeaway is this. The incredible hair you want isn't some distant dream. It's waiting for you, right at the root. So the only question left is, are you ready to finally give your scalp the care it truly deserves?